Rachel, what about the business prior to your ownership has stayed the same? And what are some of the biggest changes you've made visually or from a product perspective?
Yeah, great question. Great. And that was a beautiful, summary of the shop. So when we bought the business, my, boyfriend, now husband at the time, felt that the selling point of the business was the recipes. So when we bought the business, we bought all the recipes. So if you are in your 80s, you are eating the same marzipan now that you ate 80 years ago. And so we kind of felt that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And there was a reason that there was such a strong loyalty and with our customer base. And so we wanted to keep that. We started working a lot more with the community and have developed really strong ties in the community. And so I started a business alliance on the Avenue as well.
Wow.
And then also I've done a ton of PR. So we were just in the New York Times. We've been on CBS,
Do you
NBC.
still write your own
I
press
do.
releases?
I write my own press releases. ABC, we spent Valentine's Day morning with Cindy Shu at CBS down the block. And then we were just written up in the New York Times a week ago. We were on New York One a few weeks ago. We were on Channel 11 WPIX with Ben Aaron about a month ago. So that was also something that we've really taken to another level. And I don't think they did any of that with the previous owners.
I think a lot of business owners think that to get that coverage, you have to spend thousands of dollars on a PR firm. What would you say to them?
So we did that and got nothing. And then I started doing it myself. And I built those relationships. And now it's to the point where I'll literally text my media contacts and say, hey, this is what's going on, and I'll pitch them stories. And when I realized two things. Well, three. Number one, the media like to hear from business owners themselves, not PR companies. So I'm sorry to say this, PR companies, but I think you might be going the way of the dinosaur. Number two, that you're making their jobs easier by reaching out to them. You're actually doing their job for them. The other thing is we own a chocolate shop, as you all know, and there are so many terrible things happening in the world that the news couldn't go on if they didn't have some fluff, lighthearted pieces. And so we're always able to provide that. Like, for example, we're now in JFK Airport at Hudson News. Yeah. And at LaGuardia. And that's something that I can reach out, because say someone wants to talk about businesses post-COVID, and we can talk about what happened in the candy and chocolate industry and the relationship we developed through the Queens Chamber of Commerce and how they introduced us to Hudson News. And now we're there, or I also notice, and this is a piece of advice I give people, when you've got momentum, you have to keep going. So what happened was we were named the #1 chocolate shop in New York City by Time Out New York. So what we decided to do this year, because we've been named #1 chocolate shop in Time Out before, I got a banner and it's bright white and then the text is in black, and so everyone can see it driving down the street. And then we ended up in the airport. So then I started reaching out to media contacts and said, we were just named #1. Now we're in the airports. Valentine's Day is coming up. Why don't you feature us? Mother's Day is coming up. Easter is coming up. And then we got more and more press. And then it just the press behooves the press. So
no, that's good. I think the takeaway there is you have to be willing to pitch yourself.
Yeah.
And part of that means you have to be able to talk about yourself.
Yeah.
And that's where a lot of business owners have the struggle, the roadblock.
Yeah.